Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today to this webinar. My name is Camino de Paz. I'm the Assistant Dean of Growth and Award Programs at Yale School of Management. Part of my portfolio is overseeing admissions for 2 degree programs, the MAM that we're going to be talking about today, and the GBS. The MAM, as you probably already know, is a post-MBA degree. And today we're going to be dissecting the application process. We're going to give you our input for every part of the application. And not only that, we're also going to give you some advice on how to tackle this process prior to submitting your application to the MAM. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Matt Lassan, who's with me today, and he's going to kick us off in this session.
Hi, everyone. My name's Matthew Lassance. I'm the Assistant Director working here with Camino, working with our students for the Master of Advanced Management program. Excited to be here and talk a little bit more about this degree. So to kind of kick us off, I want to discuss just quickly a few things. So one of them being our pathways. A lot of times programs have one direct way that you might potentially get admitted. With ours, there are 2 pathways. So if you become a student here, you might meet someone that maybe took a slightly different pathway. All roads lead to the Yale MAM program, though. So our standard pathway is you're in your MBA program or you've completed your MBA degree, and now you're looking to do a little bit more. You're looking to get, a little bit broader knowledge, or looking to dive deep into something that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to dive into maybe in your MBA program or in the past few years. And so you decide to fill out the MAM application, you submit it, and we'll discuss that a little bit further, and you get admitted and you get to join us here at Yale MAM, Yale SOM, and Yale University. The other pathway is the M2M, the Master to Master. And what you would do with this pathway, or the reason it's a little bit different, is you would actually fill out your applications for both programs before you've even started your MBA. So maybe you've worked for a little bit, or you've done something else, and you're looking to get your MBA, and you already know, hey, I'm interested in doing this second year at Yale University, Yale SOM, and joining us here in New Haven. So you'd fill out both applications, and if you're admitted to both programs, you would go to your year 1 school and then join us here at Yale SOM in the second year. And again, you would still be a Yale MAM student. It's just 2 different pathways that you might see our students take. And the 2 schools that we do have the M2M pathway with are UBC up in Canada and HEC Paris. So you might see students from there, but we do have a very global cohort, as you'll see online. Now, our timeline and what it kind of looks like as you're applying for the program. So round 1 has closed. Round 1 deadline was January 8th. We're in the process of reading applications and going through that first round. And that round is exclusively open to students from Global Network for Advanced Management schools, or GNAM schools. Rounds 2 and 3 open up for students from across the world. And those deadlines are respectively February 19th and April 9th. One of the major questions that I do want to note with this, a lot of people ask, oh, is there an advantage to applying in an earlier round or a later round? And the big advantage that you're going to gain is you do get your application in, you have your decision a little bit earlier. And it's really nice to be able to start planning and thinking about, okay, what do my funds look like? What do I need to, maybe figure out there? Where am I going to be living? Working on your visa, all of those sorts of things are very important, definitely things that you want to get figured out. And sometimes those things can take time. So that's really the major advantage to applying earlier. But as you'll see, and as we'll discuss throughout this presentation, apply when your application is at its best. That's going to give you the best chance to gain admission into the program. Some of the things that we're going to talk about, transcripts, test scores, resume, recommendation letters, the video questions, and then our essays. And the reason I kind of like this slide specifically, don't focus on one component of the application. If your application is solely focused on, your transcripts, and you really, put together a lackluster resume. Your essays don't really explain, enough to us. Your video questions are not, really showcasing you at your best. It's not going to give you the best application. We look at your application holistically. We want to see a full application that across the board shows all of your strengths and shows your transcripts, maybe, some of the work experience you've had. We want to see, why you're interested in the program. And we'll dive into each one of these individually in just a minute. And I'll pass it back over to Camino to get us started.
Thank you, Matt. So please make sure you submit your questions via the Q&A feature of Zoom. We will be answering live most of the questions. Some of them might already be answered with this presentation. And I also want to thank those of you who pre-submitted questions when you register. We have them in front of us. So we're going to make sure that we take as many questions as possible so that all is clear as you get ready to submit your application, hopefully for the deadline of February 19th, which is a month away. Plenty of time, but no time to be wasted. You need to start right away. So let's start with the transcripts. So what are we expecting here? And this is pretty straightforward. We want to have all the information from all your academic journey. This means your undergraduate degree transcripts from your university. If they are in a language other than English, please make sure that you also include a translated copy of it. Grades from your MBA, even if they aren't complete. Like maybe you just have one semester, maybe you just have half of the MBA completed. Whatever you have, please submit it as well. Unofficial transcripts are acceptable. Then when you enroll, we're gonna have to ask you for the official ones. But for now, just for the assessment of the application, it's enough if they are unofficial. Also, if you have transfer institutions, if you attended 2 years to college and then shifted or transferred to another one, we want to have the grades from all the schools you attended to. So make sure you include them all because we want to assess your academic performance through all your academic journey. This is one of the questions we get the most, so I'm going to try to be as clear as possible. Test scores. The first thing that I want to say is that the GMAT or the GRE, we don't have a preference for one or the other. You choose the one that you like most or that you think you perform best at, but the score is required, and we do not waive this requirement. Reason being, this is a requirement for the school for all our degree programs, not just the MAM. So everybody applying to SOM has to submit a score. Another question that we get often is, do you accept the executive assessment from GMAT? The answer is no. We need the GMAT or the GRE. These are the only two tests that we accept. If you didn't take an exam to enter your MBA program, there's still plenty of time to take the GMAT or the GRE. Another thing that I want to mention is that these tests have an expiration date. We're not going to be looking at that. If your test has expired, but you have the test or the score that you submitted to your MBA, we're gonna take it. We will accept it, even though it might have expired already. We don't mind about that. So no worries there. Matt, do you wanna talk a little bit about resumes and CVs?
Definitely. So let's dive into the resume a little bit, because I think this is something that often it's easy to overlook. A lot of people, you have a resume already ready for work or employment. And so oftentimes people don't think, oh, I should double check it, go over it, update it. So let's talk about that. So it should be a snapshot of your professional experience, 1 to 2 pages maximum in length, and really include all the experience you've had to date. When you do that, include a little bit of information. We know some companies, BCG, Bain, McKinsey, Amazon, Tesla, we know those companies, but oftentimes students have worked for companies or businesses that maybe we don't know as much about. give us a little, you can give us a little summary of what that is, or a little snapshot of what that is, and where maybe you did it. Was it remote, hybrid? Some of those things can really be helpful just to give us a little bit more context. And then make sure that you note a few achievements or things that you did or accomplished while you were in those positions to give us a little bit more information about that experience, maybe what you learned, what you did. It really adds just that little bit extra of, okay, what are they, what have they done to this point? And then as we review your full application and as we'll discuss, it gives us a little bit more guidance to, okay, what have you done to this point? What are you looking to gain at Yale? What are you hoping to do in the future? And can we kind of build that roadmap in our heads for you? Make sure you include proof of employment, and we'll dive into that in just a second. And make sure that your resume and the work in your application match up. Oftentimes, the application may be missing some position that you've done, or the job title will be different. Different, dates can often come up. So make sure that you double check sort of the proof that you're providing us with alongside your resume, alongside your application, to make sure that everything matches up. And kind of diving into the proof of employment, make sure you list the organizations that you worked with. It makes it easy too sometimes. I know some documents you end up submitting, they're a little bit longer. Sometimes it's just a quick one-page internship certificate or some type of certificate of employment. If first page, if you can make that sort of a glossary of, the first one is for this employment, second one is this employment, third one is this employment, it can definitely help us sometimes as we're going through 30, 40 pages. Don't use, informal, unpaid, or part-time work that we can't verify. You're going to go through a background verification after, and if it can't be verified, that's going to be a problem. So if it was something that, maybe let's say Camino works for Yale, I worked for Camino, I didn't work for Yale. So you would want to say you worked for Camino in that case, or I'd want to say I worked for Camino in that case, not that I worked for Yale, because Camino would be the one that could validate that. You can still list this employment, but put this in a separate category. Make sure that you differentiate sort of the work experience that can be validated from some of that maybe informal, unpaid, or part-time work that might not be able to be verified by the company. Don't include work for individuals only organizations. So as I just said, something like that where I worked for Camino, don't list that as, I worked for this organization, did A, B, and C. That would be something that, maybe wouldn't go directly through an HR and maybe a little bit tougher to verify. So make sure you're cognizant of that. And when we ask for proof of employment, contract, pay slip, letter from human resources, tax documents, internship certificate, those are the sorts of things we're looking for. A random photo of a social media account or something like that is not going to be valid. And this is all helpful stuff too, as you look to get into the background check or the background verification process. If they have any issues, they're going to come to you. And it's helpful to have this stuff ready anyways, so that you can send that right over to them, get everything checked off, and it makes the process much easier for everyone involved. And I'll pass it back over to Camino to talk a little bit about recommendations.
Let's talk about this one. We asked for 2 letters of recommendation. The first one is a professional one. This is extremely important. Please do send a letter from somebody who has worked with you. It can be your supervisor, it can be a client, a supplier, somebody who has met you in a professional environment. Please do not send letters from a professor, because we have already seen your academic performance. Now we want to assess your skills working in a professional setting. So this is extremely important. Choose a reference who can speak to your character, your performance, and your potential. Somebody who has really known your work and your experience as a professional. Please request the letter well in advance. Everybody's extremely busy, and you don't want to give your recommender like a very tight turnaround, because 1, they might not submit on time, and 2, they might rush into the recommendation and they might not do the best. a reference for you. And the letter of recommendation must be submitted by application deadline for review. We don't start reviewing applications until they are complete. So if we don't have the letter of recommendation, we will not start reading your application. Also, something that is extremely important, please follow the instructions. Follow our instructions. The letter of recommendation has to be submitted by the person or the recommender directly, not yourself. So it's not okay that the recommender sends you the letter and you upload it. They will be sent a link, and through that link, they will be able to submit the recommendation on your behalf. The second letter of recommendation is from the dean or director of your MBA program. What are we looking for in this letter? We're not looking for somebody saying how bright you are, how well you performed in the program. We are going to be able to assess that from your transcripts. What we want to hear is that you've been a good ambassador, that you're a good citizen, that the school you've done your MBA at is proud of having you as one of their ambassadors, and that they support your candidacy to our program. That's really what we're looking for. A letter also that speaks to your character, but in this case, as a student and an ambassador of the school that you've attended. Okay, essays. So there will be 3 essays that you have to complete. What I would like to say here is that when we read an application, we want to see your story. So you have to be mindful of telling us a complete picture of yourself. So the essays are a perfect opportunity to do so. Try to explain a little bit more your journey. Let your strengths shine. It's okay to have some weaknesses and talk about them and how you have overcome them. We want to get to know that person. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to tell us your story, right? We've seen your grades. We've read your letters of recommendation. Here's a way for you to tell us your story. Also, your motivation for the program, extremely important. The MAM is a second graduate degree. Everybody who does an MBA can go and back to the workforce. They don't need this second graduate degree. So we want to understand why you want to do this. What is in here for you? So that's going to be the first essay. The first essay is about the MAM per se. So we want to know how will it complement your education? How will it help you advance in your career? And what can you contribute to the class? What are your unique, characteristics that will make the class a better place because you are in it? So those are the things that we're looking in this essay. And this is going to request a little bit of work on your end before you put together this essay, because you need to do some research. So many times candidates write this essay in a way that I feel is very shallow, right? I want to do the MAM because of this and this and this, and Yale is a great place, and that's about it. I want to know what classes you want to take. I want to know what extracurriculars you would like to participate in. I want to know how you plan to leverage the program in the future. I want to know how you connect with our mission. So please go deep, because this is what we're looking for. We really want to understand that this is the right program for you. The admission process is a two-way process. I think that sometimes candidates forget about this. They are so much trying to impress us, but we're on the other side also trying to impress you and make sure that this is the right place for you. So it's a both ways pathway, and we're really looking forward to getting to know you and have a deep understanding of your motivation and your fitness for the program. The second essay is about excellence. Okay, we're always looking for excellent candidates, but the excellence can take many shapes and forms. It's not just academic performance, what we're looking for. We do have, again, a mission statement. We educate leaders for business and society, which is extremely important to us. We are a very global program. We bring in students from all over the world. So we're looking for global players, people that truly have a global mindset. So explain to us, what excellence means to you, and what do you think you'll be an excellent candidate for our MAM program, and make us proud in the future as a SRM alum. The last essay is about your professional goals. And what we like to see in this essay is how the MAM will help you achieve those goals. So a very good way to approach it is, what were your goals before considering the MAM? Like, you've been working, you have some experience, you decide to do the MBA, and then the professional goals were X or Z. But then now you are considering doing the MAM, and how those goals that you have set up for yourself post MBA have changed or adjust or just taking a different turn. So that's what we want to understand. Like, you are here today performing or studying an MBA, or recently graduated from an MBA. And then what are you going to be using the MAM for? What is your career trajectory going to look like post the MAM? Matt, back to you.
So there's one other essay that we do offer, and it's the optional information essay or optional essay. And this essay can be important, it can be helpful. It can also be something that people don't fully understand or use correctly. So the optional essay is to clarify, something for us that needs clarification, or to add a little bit of significant information somewhere that maybe you've had a gap in your job history or in your resume, and give us a little bit of clarification of what happened. We understand life happens. There are a lot of factors that have happened, especially in the last 5 years. So maybe you explain what happened during that period of time. Maybe in your undergraduate, your grades weren't the best. And during that time, you had something going on. You can explain to us in that essay what happened, what you did to kind of recover from it or how you came back from it, what you've done since then to make sure that it won't happen again or wouldn't happen if you were here at Yale. And, you recognizing that and sharing that with us, it gives us a little bit of, I would almost say, peace of mind to be able to say, okay, you recognize, what happened or this gap or this thing. You know exactly how you combated it, how you came back from it. We don't have to worry about it or think twice about it, but it gives us that extra little bit of clarification. Please make sure you don't use this as a letter to tell us why you want to come to Yale, or why you feel you'd be great for the program or something like that. You've got 3 essays, you've got video questions. There's other ways that you can show us that and explain that to us. Please use this for the correct purposes. Now, as I mentioned, our video questions, this is another important piece. There's no part that's not important, but one of the important ones to remember to do. So when you pay the application fee and submit your application, usually within about 24 hours, you'll be sent a link and you can access these video questions. There's going to be 3 video questions. You'll answer them all in one sitting, no retakes or anything like that. Should take you under 10 minutes to complete. And we ask that you kind of do it as soon as you can before the deadline. It just helps make sure that everything goes smoothly and gets in. And we use this to really evaluate, your communication skills. There's no preparation required, nothing that you have to really think too much about. It's a great opportunity to, I think of it as kind of having some fun, getting to showcase a little bit of who you are. The questions, I've sat down and answered each one of them myself to try and think, could I answer this in the time frame allotted? And it definitely gives you a great opportunity to show us how you think on your feet and tell us a little bit more about yourself. Some of the questions are a little bit more personal. Some of them are a little bit more thought-provoking, but it's a great opportunity for us to get to see and learn more about you. And one thing that I do want to mention, Notes are okay for this. It's totally fine to have some notes ready or have a notepad and a pen next to you because you're going to get 60 seconds, 90 seconds before to think about your response before the camera goes on. Don't write down a full answer and just read it. When we see students reading, it really it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like you're, showcasing the best you. It just feels like you're reading some prepared statement. It's totally fine to have notes. And one tip I'll give you real quick on this, I like to think of it, I think it was in elementary school that I kind of learned how to write a paper, and it was, 5 paragraphs. You have your intro, your 3 body paragraphs, and your conclusion. I almost think of it that way. Have your, okay, this is my opening point, what I'm going to mention. Here are my 3 key points that I want to, touch on, and here's my closing statement. I think that makes it super easy to kind of, if you have to look over and say, oh, yep, that's what I was going to say, you can say each one of those and knock it out in the time frame allotted, which is usually 60 seconds to a minute again. And again, have fun with it. This is a great opportunity to showcase yourself and give us a little bit more about, your thought process, who you are, what you're interested in, and why you're excited about the program. All right. And one of the other fun pieces that I know everyone kind of asks about, interviews. So interviews are by invitation only. If you're invited, they're roughly 2 to 3 weeks after the submission deadline, and they last about 30 minutes, and we do them over Zoom. You don't need to come to Yale or anything like that in person. So it makes it a little bit easier with a lot of our students being international. What we like to do in these is dig a little bit deeper into aspects of your application that maybe we're curious about. Maybe we saw that, you had some interesting work experience, or maybe you mentioned that you've been working in, I don't know, in business, but you want to dive into sustainability down the road. And so it's a great opportunity for us to learn more about your interests, your passions, and kind of learn more about how you want to take that journey with Yale. Um, it's a great opportunity for us too to kind of ask any questions that the committee might have had. When we go through and read your application, sometimes questions come up. There's things that we're curious about. So it's a great opportunity for us to get those questions answered as well. It's also a great opportunity for you to tell us more about yourself. Again, be genuine in this. Don't just read, don't come in with a prepared statement. Have some notes, have your resume handy, because it's always great to be able to look over and say, oh, yep, I see what you're talking about, and kind of be able to discuss those things. But definitely take advantage of this as an opportunity to really showcase the best version of you. Make sure you dress for success, be prepared for that. And make sure that you come with any questions you have. At the end, we always try to save, a couple minutes to make sure that any questions you might have are answered. And one thing I do want to note too, and I should have mentioned this on the video questions, but I think it applies to both video questions and the interviews. It's okay to make a mistake or to have a moment where maybe you get a little bit stressed and you're kind of like, and you kind of freeze up for a second. It happens to everyone. That's totally okay. It's how you come back from that. If you freeze up, take a second, compose yourself, and then finish strong. That's going to showcase such a great side of, hey, they can deal with adversity. They had that little moment, but they finished strong. That's okay. You're going to make mistakes. We're not expecting anybody to have an absolutely flawless, perfect application. It's okay to have those little hiccups. It's how you finish.
Okay.
So
Yeah, now we're going to be taking your questions. Feel free to put them in the Q&A. I have been typing back some answers that are quick ones. We're going to take all this live. So now is the time for you to ask your questions. We have also a list of pre-submitted questions, so we're going to go through them. And I'm going to advance. Oh, no, this is the final piece of advice, which after we answer the questions, we're going to be giving each of you. But I want to put this also up so you have time to look at this. We do have a podcast that we have recently recorded. We're very proud of it. And we are basically telling the whole story of the MAM from all different angles, from admissions perspectives to students' perspectives, to other departments of the school. So we strongly encourage you to listen to our podcast. It's called MAM Admissions Unplugged, and you have the QR there. And also join us for upcoming events. I will be hosting a student panel on January 31st. And honestly, Matt and I can talk about the program 4 days long, but nothing like hearing from students, people that are living the experience. And I think that's going to be extremely helpful as you consider our program. So please check out our events, listen to our program podcast, and hopefully you will be ready to submit the strongest application possible. Okay, so Matt, let's start with the questions. So we have a first question here, says, as the resume reflects professional experience and it links the pay stubs to your application needs, it might be across different industries. So does it must include all paid, full-time, post-undergraduate, or only to a particular industry? Matt, can you take this one?
Yeah. So we would need to see, pay stubs or some sort of documentation for any positions, regardless of industry that you want us to kind of evaluate on your resume. Paid full-time, post-undergraduate experience, all of that, doesn't matter the industry. And we want to see all of that, regardless of what you're doing. We want to see what you've done to this point. And then in your essays, that's a great opportunity to kind of explain a little bit more of what you hope to gain at Yale. And then, as Camino noted with the career essay, an opportunity to see, okay, what do you want to do in the future? But we do need to see, documentation, whether that be, again, pay stubs, internship certificate, contract, HR document, something showcasing, validity to any of the work experience you've had to that point.
Thank you. We have another question about, I like this one, about applying in round 2. This is a candidate from a non-GNAM school. And so will they be at disadvantage in terms of scholarship considerations? And the answer is no. We're going to have a scholarship budget for all 3 rounds. So there is no need to rush into submitting an application thinking that we're going to be running out of a budget. We do have 2 types of scholarships, merit and need. For merit, you will be assessed as we consider your application. So you don't have to submit any additional paperwork. When we communicate to you our decision, if you get an admission, and if you've been awarded any merit scholarship, that will come with your decision. We don't give full merit scholarships. So usually they are between $10,000 to have tuition, around $40,000. That's the range for merit. And then once you have received your decision and your merit award, if any, then if you still have a gap, you can apply for financial aid. And so you have to submit all your paperwork, all your financials, and that goes to our financial aid team. And then you get assessed again, and they come back with a final award, which includes merit and need. So, but again, we are going to have budget for all 3 rounds. So no need to worry if you're not ready to submit in round 2, you have to wait until round 3. We will still have resources there. Okay.
I really like this next question I'm seeing. So this person works for their family business, but it looks like they've got their MBA, and they're wondering if they'd be, competent or competitive with other applicants, because maybe they haven't worked at some of those big companies. And they absolutely would be. I think that's one of the best parts of the MAM program is we have students, one from across the globe. We've had students from every continent except Antarctica. We have students from all different industries. So whether that be agriculture, technology, sort of the consulting, banking, finance. We've had people in like transportation, government. There is really no right or wrong industry or company to have worked for. The big piece there would be make sure that, you can provide some documentation to show that, you were employed and what you were doing there. But really, there's no, just because you haven't worked at some of the bigger name companies, that's totally okay. We are looking at the full resume, the full application. We want to see what you've done to this point, but we're really looking to see too what you hope to gain and do in the future. So definitely don't be shy to apply, even if you haven't maybe worked at those big companies. You can definitely put together a great application still.
And we love family businesses and entrepreneurs. So I fully agree. Okay, we have a question about the schedule for 2026. And I realized that we haven't even said the schedule for 2025. So the program starts in August and graduation is in May. So it's actually 9 months of the program. In terms of the schedule for admissions, which I don't know what you're referring to, if it's the program per se or admissions, and you're, I think, asking about 2026 because you don't have time to submit your application within the time frame that we have for 2025. The deadlines will be very similar. So we always have first deadline early January, then second deadline mid-February, and then the third deadline will be early April. So you can take this year's deadlines as a reference for next year's. Okay, so okay, this is a good one, Matt, that we see often. Should all documents related to proof of employment be in English or in other language, but with translations will be okay?
So it's very helpful when they're translated to English. We can do our best investigating and try to, translate or figure out, things, but it really helps when the documents are translated to English. If you can provide the original and the translated, it makes it super easy. I know a number of students have used, I think, like certified translators or something where it almost looks like they've, it's been able to be copied over and approved. And it really just makes it so much easier to be able to review everything. So we do ask that documents be sent in English, but we understand sometimes not always possible, but we'd really appreciate it if they are sent in English.
Thank you. We have a question here about putting hyperlinks on the resume to show achievements. I would say no. You tell us your story, you have plenty of opportunities. We just want to see the resume, what you've done, and try to describe. We receive many applications. We cannot start looking into hyperlinks. We don't want to do that either because we don't know if we're going to get a virus into our computer. So please stick to the instructions and show us your strengths within the frameworks of the application. So no, please don't include hyperlinks in your resume. Oh, we have a shout out for
I was going to say.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add, so someone gave us a shout out, said a lot of their questions or most of the, questions they had were answered right away when they listened to the episodes. We didn't ask them to submit this, and just saying thank you. One thing to note with that, if you have thoughts on an episode, or maybe you've got specific questions, or there's something that you're interested in, definitely send us an email. We're working on, we have several podcast episodes in the works right now. So maybe one of your questions will be answered there. But if you have specific questions or there are things that you're interested in learning more about, definitely send us an email and we can see if maybe we can make that a podcast episode in the future.
The best way to connect with us is with the email address on the slide, advanced.management@yale.edu. All of us are behind that inbox and you'll have an answer much quicker than if you write to us individually. So please, any questions through that email address. Okay, we have another question, Matt, about somebody who has graduated in 2021. Are they still eligible?
So they would still be eligible. And this is something I think it's always fun to kind of talk about because we have students that are in several different phases of life. So we have some students that maybe they have, recently completed their MBA like yourself in, 2021. And now they've gotten a couple more years of work experience, but they recognize that maybe they want to make a pivot or there's something that they want to dive a little bit deeper in or gain a little bit more knowledge in. And so now they're looking at the MAM program. Absolutely the right time to, apply and be looking at the program. You would be eligible. We also have students that maybe they got their MBA, 10 years ago and now they're looking to make that pivot in their career. They're, looking to, shift a little bit or take that next step. And again, absolutely eligible to apply. It's a great time to kind of work on that. Make sure you feel confident and ready to kind of get back in the classroom, as this is an in-person program, but absolutely okay to apply. And then we also have people that, as you saw earlier with sort of our M2M pathway, they're just completing their MBA program, or they just getting involved in their MBA program, and they know, I want to do my MBA and then I want to come to Yale and do a little bit more right away. And so there's no real right or wrong answer. It's up to you to kind of figure out when is the best time for you to apply, but you would absolutely be eligible for the program.
If I may add something, I think what is important to know is that the curriculum of the MAM is extremely flexible. So you design your own curriculum. What that means is that basically they're all electives. So the program assumes that you have the core of the MBA fresh in your mind. So that's why we recommend to do the program either right after the MBA or within a short period of time of up to 3 years. But as Matt was saying, if you have been working and using everything that you've learned in the MBA in your job, then that's okay if you apply later. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to have the core of the MBA fresh. I've done my MBA many years ago. I'm not gonna disclose how old I am, but if I were to sign up for the MAM now, I would be in deep trouble because I probably don't remember all my finance courses or strategy courses or many others. So I'm just, that's the key point for making like the decision when to join, is that you do need the core. Okay, we have a question about TOEFL or IELTS score. We don't request a English test for those international students. Reason being that we're going to be assessing your level of English with the video questions, potentially in the interview if you get invited, and then obviously with the essays. So we are not requesting any test score for English performance. Okay, so please, any other questions, type them in. I'm gonna go through the pre-submitted questions to see if there are any that we haven't answered and that might be interesting.
And I'll add something while Camino's looking at some of those pre-submitted questions. So, as we're discussing, curriculum and whatnot, it got me thinking. One thing I would highly recommend to anybody that is maybe you're working on your essays, take a look at the curriculum. Take a look at the courses. If you go to our website under, I think it's the second drop-down menu under curriculum, you can look at sort of the course list. And you can select by different, genres or different industries, different things like that. And you can see sort of all the courses offered at SOM and across Yale. SOM, I believe this year had over 170 electives. Across Yale, you're probably looking at well over 1,000. So there's a lot of opportunity there. You don't have to see every one of them, but when you're filling out your essays, it's okay to talk a little bit about some of the courses you might be interested in taking. Hopefully you've kind of come into this and you're saying, hey, I'm interested in doing A, B, and C, and here's what I want to learn. Add some of those courses that maybe you're interested in taking. Maybe there's clubs that you're interested in. Talk about some of those things because it gives us a little bit more, information on why you're interested in the program and what you're hoping to do. And it really, I think, helps us sometimes even feel better about, okay, you've done the research, so you know what would be ahead of you. You know what opportunities there are here at Yale. It really can make your essay shine even a little bit more, adding just that little extra bit of, knowledge that you've hopefully learned about the program.
Thank you, Matt. I've gone through all the pre-submitted questions and I think we have answered them all. The only thing that I want to stress is somebody's asking that they come from an MBA that is not a GNAM school, and that is totally okay. Yes, you're eligible to apply. Not for round 1, who has already passed, but you're welcome to apply in rounds 2, again, deadline February 19th, or round 3, deadline April 9th. We would love to read your application. And I also want to use this opportunity to let everybody know that in rounds 2 and 3, there's no advantage for coming from a GNAM school versus a non-GNAM school. We're gonna be assessing applications equally, and we're gonna take the best applicants. So there's no preference for GNAM applicants in rounds 2 and 3. We're just gonna be equally assessing all candidates. Okay, so I don't see any more live questions. So Matt, let's go here. I think this is important. What would be your final piece of advice? If you were to give just one piece of advice to candidates applying to the MAM, what would it be?
I think it would be plan ahead. Deadlines can really sneak up on you. You know, as you're going through the process, you're asking for letters of recommendation, you're looking for, you know, that piece of proof for employment. You know, are working on your resume. Make sure that you plan ahead and you note the deadlines. You know, you come in, you make sure you get things submitted. I think you're doing great by coming to this presentation and taking advantage of the opportunity to kind of listen, and you've still got almost a month to kind of continue to work on your application. But make sure you plan ahead so that you can get everything submitted by the deadline. You've got your letter of recommendation submitted by your recommender. And it just makes everything easier, and you're not stressing at the last minute hoping to get those video questions in or that recommendation in. How about you, Camino?
Thank you, Matt. My piece of advice is please look carefully into the program, the MAM, Master of Advanced Management. This is probably the first time in your academic journey where you have a say. You are going to be designing your own program. So you should start now, not when you arrive in August. You have to start now planning for that. And I want to see that in the application. So please, please, please do not say, I want to apply for the MAM because Yale is an Ivy League school and I want to put that on my resume. That is a rejection right there. So I can say it louder, I cannot say it clearer. We know that Yale is a great school, but that should not be the reason why you want to come to the MAM. I want to understand why you want the program, not the brand on your resume. So that would be my piece of advice. Do research, make sure that this is the right program for you. It's a huge investment in time, resources. You probably have to move across countries. So I want to fully understand what is in here for you beyond aligning your resume. Okay, Matt, I think we are done. I don't see any more questions. So I just want to thank everybody for being with us today. And we just want to thank you. We know you're very busy people, so the fact that you have spent this hour of your day with us, it really means a lot. Please stay in touch with your questions via our advanced management at Yale EDU, or connect to other events that we're having. Again, a student panel coming up on January 31st. That is extremely valuable because you will be hearing from the students. And I think that is the best source of information. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Bye.